Hey, my lovely, wonderful people, a pleasant afternoon to you. All right, lovely people. So I decided to sit and listen to the the opposition minister's budget debate speech. It's a 3 hour, 24 minutes and some seconds long. I'm 3 hours, 8 minutes and change in. So I'm basically at the tail end of his speech. And on the surface, it would sound very robust, energetic. I think this is one of the strongest I've heard him speaking and holding out the fort. I must say. And he did make some salient points. This is a bright man. One of the things, in life I endeavor to be is to be fair with as it relates to whomever is speaking, whether you're in support of them or you're not in support of them. And this has nothing to do with whether you support or you don't support. I'm saying that in the sense that people tend to be, when they're politically aligned, tend to be unjust and unfair, especially unfair in giving their deliberations on a budgetary debate, speech, or anything like that. They will hear something and it resonates with their spirit, it resonates with their soul, but because they're aligned to a side, they don't want to agree, when deep in their hearts they really and truly do agree you know all right, so I was listening to, as I said, Mr. Mark Golding, and I want to clarify something that I saw somebody, I saw something posted on Facebook. And people, that is why you have to be careful of misinformation and disinformation. I have to be fair. The minister did not say that the prime minister should not get his salary. What he was alluding to, because I listened, it was one of his when he was prefacing his speech in his first argument. He was saying basically that the prime minister is sort of disingenuous because he gave the impression as though he really wasn't interested in taking it or something of the sort, because everybody else asked. It was presented to all of them, and because the people were complaining about how their salaries are barely moving and the politicians got a big jump, and he being the it's like he being the captain, say, all right, I'm going to be the captain and let everybody get off the ship. If the ship sinks with me, so be it, because it's not as though he wasn't earning something fairly decent. Remember, his salary was close to about $10 million. You know what I mean? I don't even know what the monthly amount, but that's a fairly decent amount of money. Years ago, somebody from the same side had said anybody earning, it would have worked out to about, and this is long before COVID, $500,000 monthly, barely scraping. So most people are decomposed by that token. So he really was saying, he did not say he must not get the salary. That's not what he said. He basically was saying he kind of gave a sort of a disingenuous, you know, I suppose speech to make it seem as though he was not going to take it, but he did not say he must not get it. I listened because I said, let me go and listen. When I see these things post about people, I go and I listen, because many times people promulgate misinformation as well as disinformation. It could also be a lack of understanding. And sometimes when you're not in favor of somebody, you hear what you want to hear. You have itching ears. You just want to hear the person say something that seems negative, and then you twist it, and it's wrong. All right. One of the things that I don't like with this particular side is that they belabor too much on past, let us call it in their term, failures of their opposing side. So the present government would be their opposing side. So they labor. It was I tell you, it's 3 hours and 24 minutes and change long, and more, about half of the time or more, rather, spent on, sort of creating a vitriol and beating down a backlash on their perspective non-performance, really, and some of it had to be a matter of perspective. I will agree with one thing that let me put it this way. I agree with both sides. He talked about the whole tax. We can't manage a taxation just now. And that what they could have done is remove the tax of water, because water is $100. And if you buy 2 bottles, 200, and that would cost more than gas. That's semantics, to be honest with you, because that is for when, the retailer buys it from the so-called manufacturer or the bigger conglomerate. They get it cheaper when you buy it from the distributor, for example, or a manufacturer, as the case may be, either or. you know that they would have to put on their markup. So there are places when you go into the supermarket, you're not spending $100 on the certain brands of water, unless it's the alkaline water or something of the sort, or some top spring water. Outside of the parameters of those, so to be honest, even if you take off the tax of water, people not, because people have broken themselves into eating unhealthily. So I really didn't have a problem with them taxing it. He was saying that is though they wanted to find ways of taxing, possibly. But to be honest, sometimes, as they would say, out of evil cometh good. It can slow down the people buying these sugary drinks, because diabetes, hypertension, and these lifestyle illnesses are at an all high. So it either way could probably work. But again, if people they're not inclined to drinking water, even if they sell it for $0, you will still find people not buying it in droves. There are people I know can afford to buy it, and they say, Tony, I don't even drink enough water. So, as I said, either for me is fine, and I don't like deliberations on. I prefer that 2 hours would be spent on a comprehensive framework of what you're going to do for the people of Jamaica. We keep getting sidelined by who do this from who never do this. He said some points that I like, because it is true. Promises without numbers is just noise. And all for years, decades, Jamaican people have been hearing promises and just, it's all noise. Empty barrel. When you open the barrel, you think them saying, yeah, like the girl who did think she was tricking the man, and him saying an empty barrel coming wicked still. Empty barrel makes it the most noise. Recklessness today means greater problems tomorrow. So if you do poorly today, it's going to affect you tomorrow. And that is also true in any area of your life. Fiscal discipline doesn't mean bookkeeping, or it doesn't mean excessive fiscal conservatism. How I'm understanding that is like, it no means you're too mean and stingy, and like almost like a miser. You just a grip on the money, so no one spend it in a steward, in steward it the way it ought to be steward, because stewardship is not meanness. Budgeting is just a little part of stewardship. People should be progressive, because he mentioned that productivity in Jamaica is very low. And one of that, I didn't even realize he was saying 15% of the working population, and I think he's talking the public sector, are people with tertiary level education. And if we were to break that down, where does a tertiary fall? Probably just first degree. Not everyone has a master's, not everyone has above, whether MPhil or PhD. You follow? So that will be a big contributor, to the downfall of the economy in Jamaica, because even though the Fitch and the Moody said Jamaica is doing well, something is wrong, because people are bawling, people are crying, because they are not feeling any monies in their pockets. Too many of us, as I've often said, are underemployed. We shouldn't be getting less than the 6 million according to the which would have been the 500,000. Too many of us are getting that. You cannot survive under $500,000 monthly as an educated, skilled worker. That is exploitation, that is unjust, and just, as far as I'm concerned, unethical. They can go through do an audit to see people's qualifications and their skills and abilities, and change things for them. People should not. You can't be at a master's level and be paid some monkey money. That's a joke. It says it means judicious fiscal making, just and fair, where it benefits the whole, but people can live comfortably well. Remember, both sides in different ways says that they want people to prosper and to do well. Years ago, the opposition minister had said that people should become millionaires. When they had some sort of a conference, and the reigning side had said, we want people to prosper and to do very well financially. So this speech again, for me, I didn't like too much of it's almost like he's saying he say, she say, or you did this, you did this, you did this. What are you proposing to do? We want to come out of that kind of a tribalistic politics and something that is progressive and doing well, doing very well. Anyway, guys, you know what to do with TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe, give me one of those lions, and you can follow me on Instagram.